Hello and welcome back to the Hytale Engineering channel. This time round we're looking into and exploiting the mechanics around growing trees and then using that to figure out the best ways to tree farm. This will hopefully be the ultimate guide to tree farming, and we will cover how to best farm each wood, compare which woods are the most efficient to farm. We will look at what conditions are required for each wood type in order for them to grow fully. I mean, there's nothing worse than putting down your saplings hoping to get a bunch of wood, only to come back days later to this, a tiny little thing with no wood on it whatsoever. We can also then go the other way around and figure out how to suppress a tree's growth at a specific stage, like you can see I've done behind me. As it also sucks when you've built a nice little house and then the cute little tree you've planted next to it grows way too large and it sort of just ruins everything. So let's get going. To start with then, growing trees from saplings. So behind me here are 4 beech trees and a sapling, which are the 5 growth stages that we are told about on the sapling tooltip. You'll notice that they're floating in the sky. That's not because I've used commands, but because I grew them up there. This is the first important tip for farming trees. I'm sure you've noticed that when you grow trees, they also grow underground and replace the dirt with roots. But what if I told you the roots can grow into the air instead? So all we need to do is grow the sapling on a 1x1 block pillar instead, which means that the roots will be easily accessible without having to dig, and will auto break too once we break the lowest one. This also saves dirt from being destroyed in the process, which slowly erodes your tree farming area. But there's a bigger problem with the erosion of the dirt. If the roots can't grow, then the tree will be prevented from reaching its later growth stages, limiting the amount of wood you can get. This is why you often find your trees getting stuck in their smallest size. So if you grow them in the air, all we need to do is replace the 1x1 block or the 1x1 pillar that they are on. No need to fill in the holes left by the roots. You don't have to use dirt for the 1x1 pillar. Any block you can place the sapling on is also replaceable by the roots and won't prevent growth. This includes any variants of dirt, mud, clay, grass, gravel or sand. So use whichever of these you have most abundantly. The gravel can be AFK'd using a cobble generator and then salvaging the cobble into the rubble and then crafting the rubble into gravel. Watch these videos to see how to most efficiently get stone without using pickaxe durability, and to learn how to get 2 rubble for each cobblestone from the salvager's bench, rather than the 1 you'd normally get. But quickly, the most important part, where do we get these saplings from? The trees do not drop saplings like in Minecraft, instead we purchase them using a life essence from the farmer's workbench. But when we go to the workbench, we see that only the beech sapling is unlocked. To unlock the tiers, you need the wood type matching the sapling you're about to unlock, but also a significant number of crops that were unlocked from the tier before, so unlocking the wood types is kind of tied to your farming progression, which I guess might be annoying for some people. This also means your wood farming is tied to your crop farming, as that's how you get hold of life essence, so you probably want a small farm of eternal crops just to provide you with the essence to keep buying saplings. I will only be covering the first saplings that are in the game in this video, but I'll be sure to make a follow-up video with all the new saplings from update 4, which will allow us to grow so many more types of tree. Now we've got the basics covered, let's go on to the first wood type that we can grow ourselves, and that is back to the beech trees. So again here with the row of beech trees and their respective growth stages, let's investigate this type of tree. So the most important metric to find out is how deep the dirt needs to be for the tree to reach its full size and therefore provide us with the most logs. Quick experiments show us that just 3 deep is sufficient. Now how close can we place these saplings before the trees start to obstruct each other? A gap of 4? Nah. Gap of 5? Nah. What about a gap of 6? Okay, yes, these have all grown fully. Okay, a gap of 6 is what is needed to ensure they all grow to their final stage. So to grow beech trees most efficiently, we need 1x1 pillars that are 3 blocks tall with 6 blocks gap between them. We will come back to how we can purposefully limit the growth stage of the trees after the farming efficiency analysis, so if you really want to see that, then you can skip ahead. I should have put chapters into the video, but if not, shout at me in the comments. That covers all of how to grow beech trees, but now, what do we get from growing beech trees? On average, we get 37 logs, 65 sticks, 6 plant fibre and 14.5 tree sap per sapling, and all for the cost of only 5 life essence. This is quite a lot of information I am providing, and there's a lot of trees to go through, so to help, I'm filling in a table like this for all the tree types. The full spreadsheet with all of these tables for all of the tree types will be available by following the link in the description, so you can download it for yourself, rather than having to remember all of this information. A smart YouTuber probably wouldn't have done that, as then you'd have to keep rewatching the video each time you wanted to find out, which, would have given me more views and watch time. I guess it's a bit late now, but even a dumb YouTuber knows to remind you that you should like the video and subscribe to the channel if this sort of content is interesting, helpful, or entertaining to you. With that shameless channel plug out of the way, we can move on to the next sapling we unlock, birch. Don't worry, we'll answer the exact same questions, put them in the same table, and it will all be in that document in the description. So here are the 5 stages of birch growth. And let's go through the table and find the conditions needed to grow fully. So depth, let's try 3, like with beech. Okay, that didn't grow fully. Let's try 4. Okay, that does seem to be enough. These trees do seem narrower than beech, so I reckon we can plant them a bit closer. So let's try a gap of 5. Okay, that seems to work. Let's try a gap of 4. Okay, no, they're not all growing. Okay, so a gap of 5 it is then. So at least 4 dirt deep and a gap of 5 blocks between saplings will get a fully grown birch tree. Now the average resource drop for a birch tree is 38.5 logs, 49.2 sticks, 5.4 plant fibre and 9.4 tree sap, for a cost of 10 life essence. After we have gone through every tree type, we will compare these drops per tree, per essence, etc., which will all be very helpful for the farming efficiency later on. Now onto a tier 4 farmer's workbench. Let's see what saplings we unlock here. Quite a few it would seem. So firstly we unlock the apple sapling, which is very expensive and isn't one you cut down for logs, so we'll skip over this one. The other 4 all give hardwood. The first of these is ash. And here are the 5 growth stages. But this stage 5 is kind of interesting and problematic at the same time. This tree type caused me the most trouble of all of them, but also I've discovered a way to farm this one almost automatically. It breaks itself. We just need to pick up the drops afterwards. So to begin with then, just like all the others, how deep does the dirt need to be? Well, the answer is 5, but we can't just use a 1x1 pillar if we want to get the final stage. So if we use a 1x1 pillar, we can occasionally get the stage 5 tree, but most of the time it just stays at stage 4. Now here's the breakthrough though, there is a way to guarantee that stage 5 growth stage. If we make a ring of stone beneath the dirt cross, the sapling will grow on to a stage 5 every single time. I don't fully understand why this works, probably something to do with the roots being glitched out, as you'll see there kind of aren't any with a stage 5 tree. Don't ask me how I figured this out, I was basically just planting down trees in loads of different configurations for about an hour and eventually this randomly worked. Regardless of how or why this works, we now have a method to grow these consistently. You can thank me by leaving a like on the video and maybe also subscribing. Damn, that's twice now in one video. Maybe I am getting the hang of this YouTube nonsense. In terms of sapling spacing then, we need a gap of 13 blocks between saplings for the stage 5 trees to grow. The resources you get for each stage 5 ash tree is on average 96 logs, 75 sticks, 9 plant fibre and 18 tree sap. On to oak next. And this one is the only tree type currently, other than the apple tree, that takes over 2 days to grow, and is also the only tree type to have 7 growth stages according to the item description. And here they all are. So like ash, we need 5 blocks of dirt below the sapling in order to fully grow, and between stage 7 trees you need a gap between the saplings of at least 19 blocks, so these are by far the most space inefficient we have so far. Oak does give a lot of resources at stage 7 though, giving on average 218.6 logs, 162.6 sticks, 16.4 fibre and 36.4 sap. However, to cut down a size 7 oak tree, you do need to destroy each of these root sections individually, which can be a bit tedious. Next we have spruce and frozen spruce, which grow and behave exactly the same. One is just a reskin of the other basically. So here are their 6th growth stages. So yeah, 6. The sapling tooltip is wrong here because it says 5. I'm not sure if perhaps we're not meant to count the sapling stage, but in which case all the previous ones we've done are missing a stage because then they would only have 4. So I'm not sure what's going on there, but anyway. Now for dirt depth, we require 5 deep for the roots, but I would leave 6 deep as these extra roots can actually grow and destroy 6 blocks deep, even if it's stone, or a block the roots normally couldn't destroy. A useful tip is these extra roots break instantly, even without an axe, so we can break these trees very easily without using tool durability. These trees are skinny, so they will grow fully even as close as this, which is a gap of 4 blocks between each sapling, which makes these very space efficient. For some reason the spruce saplings grow into fir trees. Not sure what's up with that, probably just need to rename the sapling as there isn't spruce log in the game. Each spruce tree, or maybe fir tree, should give on average 65 fir logs, 9.6 sticks, 2.2 plant fibre and 3.2 sap. You'll notice that these skinnier trees give a lot fewer sticks and a lot less fibre than the bushier deciduous trees, as they have fewer branches and a lot fewer leaf blocks. But we will analyse all of this later on. Now, let's upgrade our workstation to tier 5 and see what we unlock. So despite requiring dry wood, we actually unlock redwood, which is, well, red and not dry. The game has these muddled at the moment, so I'd imagine either the dry sapling will be swapped with the redwood sapling and be unlocked to tier 5, or the wood requirements will be swapped. Either way, redwood is an interesting one, as the tooltip again says 5 stages and 2 days to grow. But this is in fact a lie. Just like with spruce, there's 6 stages. But wait, there's actually a 7th stage, the enormous redwood tree. Look at it, it absolutely dwarfs the stage 6 tree. However, you do need to wait longer than 2 days for this, which, is understandable, as that would be an insane amount of wood very quickly. I found that it takes at least 10 days to grow to stage 7. It appears to be random, so you can't know exactly when it will grow to this stage, but it did always seem to be less than 15 days from my tests. So what conditions are required to grow these then? Shockingly, even for the massive stage 7, you only need 3 deep for the dirt. And for spacing, a gap of 6 will suffice for stage 6 trees, but 15 blocks between saplings if you want the stage 7 redwoods. And now for what each tree will drop, for a cost of 20 life essence per sapling. A stage 6 tree will drop 171 logs, 27.2 sticks, 5 fibre and 7 sap on average. But a stage 7 tree will drop a whopping 1,475 logs, 52 sticks, 5.5 fibre and 24 sap. So a huge 8.5 times increase in logs, but not quite as spectacular a jump for the other resources. And of course remember, you do need to wait 10 to 15 days for the tree to grow to stage 7, so if you need wood quickly, just grow a bunch of stage 6 trees instead, which will cost more life essence, but it's not exactly hard to get really. Now to upgrade the farmer's workbench to tier 6, requiring darkwood, which unlocks cedar, which gives, well, darkwood, which I think might be my personal favourite. These two have 6 stages, so again the sapling tooltip seems to be wrong for all the evergreen trees. So for space, cedar trees need 4 deep for dirt, but I'd leave 5, as like with the spruce tree we do get these extra roots that can destroy the 5th block below, even if it isn't usually replaceable by roots. And just like with the fir trees, we can break these instantly without a tool. These trees are also very narrow and can be grown with only a gap of 4 blocks between saplings, making them also really space efficient, and each tree will give on average 60 logs, 55 sticks, 3.875 fibre and 8.38 tree sap, for the cost of 25 life essence each. Now we can move on to upgrading the workbench once more, which despite requiring redwood does in fact unlock the drywood saplings, which grow into drywood trees. And these are behind me now in their 5 stages. To grow drywood saplings, the dirt only needs to be 1 block deep. This is because there are no roots for these trees, and I'm not sure if this is a bug or if it's intended, as plants and trees in dry areas do generally tend to have wider and shallower roots, but not no roots, so this could be a bug. Either way, in terms of space horizontally, as these trees do sort of sprawl outwards a bit, they do need a space of at least 11 blocks in between saplings to grow to their final stage. For each dry tree that you cut down, you can expect to get on average 50 drywood logs, 20 sticks, 4 plant fibre and 5.8 tree sap for a cost of 30 life essence. Now we can upgrade our farmer's bench to tier 8. You can see that the costs are getting pretty high now, so you are going to need to work on your farming progression a bit to unlock these higher saplings. This also requires golden log, which in theory does drop from palm trees, except they don't grow large enough to have a 1x1 log trunk, instead just having these stick trunks, and they don't drop anything other than sticks. So either you have to find the palm log in chests, or harvest sallow tree, which can be found in zone 4. But we do actually unlock palm at this level, and I'll be honest with you, it's really not worth it, at least from a sapling perspective. The palm trees are currently bugged, growing to stage 2, but then upon reaching stage 3, immediately breaking and leaving just a stump with some coconuts on the floor. I know there are mods out there to fix this if you really want to grow some palm trees, but for now in vanilla, you can't grow these trees. That concludes how to grow each type of tree. Now we will look into what ones are the most efficient to farm, then we will move on to how to constrict the growth of trees to keep them small for decoration, and then we will finish on methods to get other types of tree renewably other than saplings. So, on to analysing the best trees to farm. Look at all this, graphs, how exciting! though technically speaking these are charts, not graphs, but still exciting. Of course, if you need a specific type of wood, then currently other than hardwood you only have one option you can grow anyway. But you may be harvesting trees just for logs as furnace fuel, for sticks, sap or fibre, in which case any of them would work. And so which would be the best in each case? We'll start for logs then, and specifically for hardwood as we do have a choice here. The oak tree gives the most log per life essence of the three, but takes up the most space and is tedious to farm as you need to break the roots in multiple locations. The spruce/fir tree gives the least logs per essence but can be grown in the smallest area, making your tree farm the most compact. And ash is an in-between of the two, however it does have the cool benefit of being self-harvesting. If we build this setup here, then when the tree grows to stage 5, it immediately breaks. So we just need to pick up all the stuff it drops and replace the singular dirt and the sapling. Not hugely helpful currently, as we're only saving on the breaking of one log, but in the future, if we get automatic item collection, then this allows the wood to be harvested fully automatically, which is pretty cool. Moving on to generic logs then, from here we will compare against 3 metrics: logs per life essence, logs per day, and logs per square metre of farm, as each of these will be important to different people. For people low on life essence, maximising the logs you get per essence is the most important. For people who need the logs quickly, then logs per day is most important. And for people who don't want a sprawling log farm, then logs per square metre is the metric to maximise. So for logs, there is a clear winner for all of these categories, and that is the giant stage 6 redwood trees. So for logs per essence, you get 73.73, which is 5 times higher than the runner-up of oak. For logs per day, despite being 10 to 15 days to grow, the sheer amount of logs you can get still makes this the fastest. However, if you need logs immediately, then it would be the slowest to start giving you logs, so regular redwood and oak aren't too far behind here on logs per day. For logs per square metre, giant redwood still dominates, but the other evergreen trees all score well here due to their tall aspect ratio. So if you just want generic logs, giant redwoods are by far the best bet. However, if you deem them too unsightly for your cute little cottage, then regular redwood or oak are the next best ones if you ask me. But what if you wanted to farm trees for sticks then? We will use the same 3 metrics as before, but with sticks instead of logs. Now here, deciduous trees give the better returns. For sticks per life essence, the winner is beech, with a score of 13 sticks per essence, beating the runner-up oaks 10.8. For sticks per day, oak and ash are the best 2 due to the sheer number of sticks they drop when fully grown. Sticks per square metre is a tie between birch and beech, but as beech is cheaper, I'll give the win to beech. So if you just want sticks, then beech is by far the best bet. Don't forget all of these tables and graphs are in the document in the description, so you can perform your own analysis and comparisons if you want. Onto plant fibre, and this is something I'm always short of myself. Now the best way to get fibre is actually to not cut the tree down until you have broken the leaves manually, which is best done with a sword or mace, which have large area of effect swings that break multiple leaves at once. This will massively increase the fibre you get per tree, however the ratio is the same across trees. So in this graph we see that beech and oak give the most fibre per essence when cut down, but if you were to manually break the leaves, these 2 would still be the highest. They'd all just give way more in the same proportion, so the ranking would be unchanged. For fibre per day, despite oak taking 3 days rather than 2, the sheer amount of fibre you get makes this the best per day. Ash isn't too far behind. And for fibre per square metre of farm, birch appears in a tie with cedar, but as birch is cheaper in life essence, I will give the win there to birch. Finally, onto sap, which is mainly useful for torches and lanterns, but any spare can be used as a fuel source in the furnace. So again, beech is coming out really well here for sap per essence, just because beech is so cheap it's going to win a lot of these. For sap per day, oak is again the winner due to its size, with ash in a close second again. Then for sap per square metre of space, beech is again the winner. So there we have it. In conclusion, if you want wood of a specific type, then grow the wood you need from that sapling, as there's currently only one choice for all except hardwood. For hardwood, pick oak for life essence efficiency, spruce for space efficiency, and ash if you want the auto breaking farm. For generic wood, it's giant redwood that is best without a doubt, and it wins every efficiency metric. For the other 3 resources, beech scores very well in all of the efficiency metrics, so you can't go wrong with it really. So I'd recommend beech for these uses of fibre, sap and sticks. We've done the technical analysis of the farming, but now, what about growing trees for aesthetics? What if you want one of the smaller tree sizes for decoration, like you've been seeing behind me all video? This needs a quick test first. If we damage a tree mid-growth by removing a few leaves, does this stop it from growing further? As that'll be an easy way to stop growth at the right time, then you can always come back and put the leaves later. Okay, no, it still seems to grow. What if I remove every single leaf? Huh? It still grows? That's quite helpful actually, as the smaller trees are way easier to reach to harvest leaves. We will have to prevent the tree from growing by placing obstacles. So let's test again. If we constrict a tree's growth and then remove the constriction, does it continue growing again? Let's test this tree here that has a stone block below it. Progressing time, we see it has stopped at this stage here. Now, let's remove the stone block and progress time again. Nope, the tree is not growing. So once a tree has failed to grow, it will not try again. This is helpful as we can therefore use temporary structures to prevent growth and then come back and remove them later. Now after the success of that test, let's figure out the easiest way to stop the growth of the beech tree at each stage so you can pick the exact size you want. Okay, so if you want it to stay a sapling, put a stone block above it and wait a day or two so that it has failed to grow, and now you have a permanent sapling. Now, how do we stop a tree going from stage 2 to stage 3? So we compare these two and we see that the stage 3 is slightly wider and slightly taller than stage 2. When we want to constrict the growth of a tree, we want to see how the tree changes between the stages and place blocks where it wants to grow into and thus prevent it from doing so. So between stage 2 and stage 3 we can place a singular block 6 blocks above the top dirt and 2 blocks to the side of the trunk. You can then remove this block later a day or two after and it'll stay small. To keep it at stage 3, all we need to do is place a single block directly above the trunk. To keep it at stage 4, we can either also place a singular block above, which can be kind of annoying to go up to the top to, especially in survival, or we can instead disrupt the roots by putting stone 1 or 2 blocks below where the sapling started, which will prevent the tree from being able to grow to its largest size. This will work for beech trees, but it'll be different for all the different tree types. Again, this is a lot of information, so I'm capturing it all in the same document that you can find linked in the description. On to birch now. How do we get small versions of these? So again with the sapling, just a block above will do it. To keep it at stage 2, we just need to put stone 1 block beneath the dirt so the roots can't grow. To keep it at stage 3, we need to put this little cross above it like this. A singular block won't be enough, so you do need to make this shape. A little annoying as you do have to pillar all the way up to the tree. To keep it at stage 4, we can notice that the difference between this and stage 5 is the thickness of the trunk as well as height. So we could pillar up all the way to put the cross at the top, or, much easier, we could just put a collar around the trunk which prevents it from growing wider. Remember, for all of these, you must leave the constriction in place for at least a day or two before you can remove it, as the tree needs to have attempted to grow and failed. You also should only put up the constriction once it's at the stage you want, otherwise you may constrict it too early and then it will never reach the size you want. To prevent the growth of each stage for an ash tree, it's the same as before for the saplings, just a block on top. For stopping stage 2 to 3, all we need to do is keep the dirt only 2 deep to prevent root growth. To prevent growth to stage 4, we need to keep the dirt less than 5 blocks deep. And finally, to keep it at stage 4, you can put a ring around the trunk where it becomes a 1x1, as it'll need to grow to a 2x2 trunk at stage 5. Now, to keep oak at a specific stage, it's kind of tedious for a couple of the stages, but it is possible for all of them. The sapling, easy enough as ever, with the usual block above. To prevent growth from stage 2 to 3, just keep the dirt 2 deep or less. Keeping it at stage 3 requires you to place a block 7 above the top dirt and then 1 block to the side, which is sort of awkwardly in the tree. The same for stage 4, but this time 12 blocks up and 3 to the side. Keeping it at stage 5 is easy, just put a collar around the trunk where it thins to 1x1. Preventing growth to the final stage is also easy, just make sure that the dirt is less than 5 deep, or just put a larger collar around the trunk, as at stage 7 it needs to grow to 3x3. To pick a specific growth stage for fir trees, put a block on top of the sapling to keep it like that, same with the tiny stage 2, and put a cross on top of the stage 3 to prevent it from growing. To keep it at stage 4, just ensure that the dirt is shallower than 4 deep, so have a layer of stone underneath. Keeping it at stage 5 is best achieved by putting a stone collar around the trunk where it is a 1x1 thickness. For redwood, prevent the growth of the sapling using a block on top. For stages 2 and 3, to stop these growth stages, we just need to put a cross on the top. Preventing the growth for all the later stages, just add a ring of blocks around the trunk like this. To keep cedar small, we can block off the sapling like usual if we want to keep that for decoration. To keep the stage 2 tree, we just need to make sure that the dirt has a block of stone immediately underneath to prevent root growth. To prevent the stage 3 tree growing, we do need to put a cross on the top. Keeping a stage 4 tree from becoming a stage 5 tree just requires ensuring that the dirt is only 2 blocks deep to stop the roots. To stop stage 6 from growing, put a collar around the trunk. To keep a dry wood tree at a smaller growth stage, we can, as usual, put a block on top of the sapling. To keep it at stage 2, we need to add some blocks around the top, right where the trunk sort of bends in this shape here. To keep it at stage 3, we can just surround the trunk at the base. And the same with stage 4, as the trunk grows wider with every stage, so this is the easiest way to constrict the growth. With update 4 coming out not long after this video, we will be getting so many more saplings we can grow. The trees we have covered this time around have not changed significantly, so it's all still valid. However, I will definitely be making a part 2 or even 3 to cover all of the new saplings. Update 4 will now make it so that we will be able to farm goldenwood, deadwood, greenwood, frostwood, blackwood and tropical wood now, as well as the other log types that don't have plank types such as azure and spiral. In the part 2 video, we will look into the required conditions to grow the new saplings, how to constrict their growth, and also if any of the trees win any of the farming efficiency metrics. Give me a while to make that video as this one took long enough. But that does it for this video. If you've made it this far in the video, then you've hopefully learned a lot about tree farming and growing trees in Hytale. So I'd just like to say thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed or learned something, then please do leave a like or comment. It will help this video reach more people. And if this sort of content is the sort of thing you want to see, then please do subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss the next videos. I'll see you next time. Goodbye.